Hey everybody, it's Midwest Comic Man. For this episode of Creator Spotlight, I've chosen Frank Frazetta. In my opinion, Frank Frazetta is perhaps the most important American illustrator of the latter half of the 20th century. His work went well beyond comic art, into the realms of paperback books, posters, paintings, album covers, and numerous other media. His paintings today sell for ridiculous sums, and he set the bar for fantasy art even to this day. Born in Brooklyn, New York, Frank was enrolled in the Brooklyn Academy of Fine Arts at the tender young age of 8 years old. Even then, his instructor found little to teach the prodigy, as he was already well on his way to stardom. He started doing comic book work at the age of 16. His art brought him well past the comic book world, but he often came back to a medium he enjoyed. Here are 12 of his greatest covers in no particular order, except for the last one, which is my favorite Frazetta cover ever, and probably in my top 5 comic book covers ever. First, let's start with Death Dealer number 2. Written by Glenn Danzig, based on a painting Frazetta did in 1973, one of his most famous. Frazetta was known for his anatomy. That is clearly seen in the musculature of the horse. The rider could not look any more menacing, and this image is well known and has been used for comics, album covers, posters, you name it. Amazing piece, down to the vultures in the background, the hint of flames, almost perfect. Next, we have Eerie number 5. Frazetta did a good amount of work for the Warren magazines, including this cover of Eerie. Title of the story is The Swamp God Strikes. Clearly the Swamp God is a T-Rex, and he's looking for some tribute. Amazing work, with an ethereal feel from the foggy effect. You can feel the terror of the men below. Good stuff. Next is Eerie number 8. Another great Eerie cover, again showing his eye for anatomy. Every muscle is well defined, and while the men are muscular, it is not to a ridiculous Liefeldian level. Did I just make a new word? Maybe. Little details like the chips out of the sword and the dents on the shield make this great piece even better. Next is White Indian 13, an early Frazetta piece for Magazine Enterprises. This one shows, even at an early age, he had an eye for anatomy and how to construct a scene that leaves an impact with the viewer. A well-muscled Indian swats 2 British soldiers with an oar, knocking them into the water, caught at the perfect moment to convey the full action. Next is Ghost Rider number 2. Frazetta did many Western covers, and for me, the best ones he did are for the original Ghost Rider. In this one, we have the Ghost Rider riding out in front of a charging stagecoach driven by Death himself. Guns drawn, he hopes to stop the wildly charging horses and take down Death. The contrast between the White Rider and horse and the red stagecoach and Death really sets this cover apart. Next is Ghost Rider number 3. Another great Ghost Rider cover, as Ghost Rider is caught at the moment of explosion of some TNT set by a dastardly fellow who's blown up a train. The real winner here is the explosion and smoke effects and the detail on the train. Such a great cover. Next is Weird Science Fantasy 29. One of my favorite covers by Frazetta. Amazing detail as a man fights a group of cavemen who are residing in a cave on a cliffside. Amazing musculature, and each character is posed in a way to maximize the action. Covers like this cemented Frazetta as one to watch, and led to his being tapped for much more than just comics. Next, Vampirella number 1. You knew this one had to be here. The cover that launched 1,000 trips to Spider Grandpa's bunk. This is the cover that all Vampirella covers aspire to be. I've seen a ton of great Vampy covers, but to me, this is still the greatest. She is waiting inside indeed. Next is Blazing Combat 1. This is a lesser known Warren mag, but boy howdy, look at that cover. This is one of the finest depictions of the horror of war I've ever seen. A distraught soldier, stress clear on his face, blazes away at an unseen enemy as he struggles to get his buddy away. His buddy appears like he may be dead already. He's got a missing arm, splash of blood running down his torso, but still, he's going to get him away or die in the attempt. I could stare at a cover like this for hours and still find new things to amaze me. Next, we have Blazing Combat 3, another cover from the series. A soldier stands, gun still smoking, on top of a pile of dead Vietnamese. A simple image becomes something much more in the hands of the master, as every piece is rendered in exquisite detail. A cover like this makes one uneasy. That means it's done its job. Next, we have Creepy 91. Another great cover with a voluptuous yet hideous female leaping out of the cover, bloody scythe in hand, as flames leap in the background and a giant lizard watches. Great stuff. But next, we have The One, the comic I someday hope to own. Finally, we have Ghost Rider number 4. Words fail me when I try to describe this cover. It is perfect to me. 3 grave robbers receive the fright of their life as Ghost Rider and his horse burst out of the grave. Menacing red sky, look of terror on their faces, and the ultra-menacing look of the Ghost Rider with his cape billowing in the wind, his horse's mane flaring out. This is perfect. Frazetta set the bar for amazing art. And hey, he even took photos with Clint Eastwood. You may be cool, but you'll never be photos with Clint cool. He's inspired generations of artists, and people to this day admire his art. The Frank Frazetta Museum in Pennsylvania. We lost Frank Frazetta on May 10th, 2010. His art lives on, however, to inspire future generations. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button and sub me up. I've put my website for my cleaning and pressing business in the description below. I'm continuing to make updates to the site as time allows. If you need any info, my email address is on the website. I've also started a Patreon, which will have giveaways monthly of free cleanings and pressings. If you enjoy my content, please support my Patreon. It's listed below, and maybe you'll get some free pressings and cleanings. Next episode of Creator Spotlight is going to be part 2 of Frank Frazetta, because there's just too much for one. So be sure to check that out. Also, the next episode of Inside the Covers, which will spotlight Planet Comics number 5. I apologize that Inside the Covers takes longer, but it's a lot more work to produce these. If there are any creators you would like to see spotlighted, or an issue you'd like to see on Inside the Covers, please let me know in the comments below. Make sure you tune in for Comic Core on Friday nights, the happy hour of the comic community, where just about anything can happen. And then, blast or stash it on Sunday nights with the best reviews of new books out there, as well as at least one Drew and Joe fight an episode. For my comic community shout out this episode, please check out Dee Comics. Many of you are familiar with him, but I still want to shout him out. He's currently at 369 subs. He's been putting out some great content lately, including some great interviews. He's a member of Comic Core Unlimited, and hey, he's a fellow Golden Age lover, so you know I like him. Check him out, sub him up, and let's get him to make some more videos. Until next time, this is Midwest Comic Man, coming at you from the funny pages.